So we've got Rutledge. What's the last name?
Rutledge Pate.
Pate.
Yeah.
Who connected with me through a networking group that I'm a part of and wanted to come in. Some of my favorite podcasts that I do are with people who I've never really, connected with yet, because a lot of the questions that I ask are, or at least the ones that people want to hear, are the questions that I want to know too. Right. So the first thing that we all have to know, Rutledge is not a common name.
It is not.
How did that come about?
Yeah, so it's actually my grandmother's maiden name.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Right
it's
on.
actually John Rutledge Pate.
Nice. Is there any nicknames, short names for that? People call you Rutledge?
Ruddy. I lived in Australia for a little bit.
Okay.
What was their name? Gosh, I can't. I'll think of it in a second.
It's all good.
On the spot.
It's all good. So the kind of business that you're in, I know you had mentioned insurance, but what, insurance particularly? Are we talking about property and casualty, commercial? I mean, what does that look like?
Yeah. So property casualty is commercial and personal lines. So I do commercial lines and personal lines. My bread and butter has been originally started with Goosehead back 7 years ago. And we split off from them, I don't know, about 5-6 years ago. And bread and butter was personal lines only. And over the past 2 years, we've been expanding our expanding our appointments to include more commercial clients, or to commercial carriers.
I see.
And so, therefore, building up our commercial book.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the questions that I'll always ask insurance agents, because one thing I run into as a lender is we always have to kind of defend some of the costs and everything along those lines.
Right.
And here last night, today's the 26th or 25th of September.
Yeah.
We just had like a big hailstorm.
Yeah.
Up in Round Rock. Now I'm from South Austin, so I didn't get to experience any of that, thank God.
Right.
However, I know that one of the things that has been explained to me is a lot of what is increasing the costs of insurance is all of the natural disasters that we've had.
Yeah.
And I would envision hail's one of them. Have you got any calls today?
I've gotten a lot of calls.
Yeah.
And yes, the insurance carriers, so we're appointed with, over 30 different carriers on the personal line side. And something like 50 on the commercial, and then surplus lines is even more. But what they're calling it is unprecedented unprofitability.
Wow. That doesn't sound sexy.
No. And, I feel like it's every day we're waiting, big carriers like Travelers, Progressive, everybody is starting to move to 2% deductibles. That's one of the emails. The smaller regional carriers have either gotten bought up by the bigger carriers or have just stopped business. Germania has been in business for 126 years. They stopped all new business.
Wow. So when you talk about 2% deductibles, just to unpack that, like that 2% is 2% of what?
That's 2% of the dwelling amount or the policy limit.
Okay.
So say replacement costs, on a 2,000 square foot home is $360,000. 2% would be
$6K.
Yeah,
roughly.
$6K.
It's called 6,000-7,000.
Right.
So that's going to be the deductible now.
Everybody's starting to move towards the norms. Travelers did it in the middle of the day. I was working on a quote at like 9:30 in the morning, and then tried to issue it at 11, and it wouldn't let me go back to 1%.
Wow.
So then you have to explain to the client, like, look, 2% are the norms now. And with this recent hail, it's kind of justified.
Right.
You know.
So again, just for people who are kind of watching and trolling and looking for information, hypothetically, you insure your home. We talked about 2%, for example, on like a $300,000 replacement cost.
Mm-hmm.
Your deductible now is $6,000 to, collect on anything insurance-wise. So you really have to have like $6,000 plus in damage for it to be worthwhile.
Correct, or more so. Anything after 600 is what would be covered by insurance. Or sorry, 6,000.
6,000,
Yeah.
right? You
But
might even be in a better position just to pay the $6K
even
and do the
then,
repairs because you don't want to get hit.
because the claims,
Right.
it follows you for 5 years. And, especially on auto, this is a big issue that I advise a lot of my clients on. If you can afford to pay it out of pocket, pay it out of pocket, because renewals are killing everybody right now. We're seeing an average of 40%.
What do you mean pay it out of pocket? Oh, the repair.
Repair.
Right.
Yeah. If you're able to, keep it off your claims history. Keep your claims history as clean as possible. Now, for bigger things and depending on the client situation, it makes sense to go through insurance. But if it's $200, $300, $500 over the deductible amount,
right,
and the client can afford to pay that, it's better than paying $1,000 for it over the next 5 years.
Right. Well, and that's good advice. I mean, and again, 2%, it's a lot of money.
It is.
So if you run into your garage door and it's like $4,000 to fix it, you're better off just paying for it.
Right. Yeah. Well,
and that's a lot of money for people.
It is.
Right?
It is. And it's more so, especially on the higher replacement cost homes, that 2% becomes greater and greater. So it's just something that is going to become the new norm. And
yeah, I mean, one thing we talk about when it comes to the insurance industry lately that I've had other agents on, I mean, profit is not a dirty word, and insurance companies have to make money.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. And unfortunately, with all the claims and everything, what was the term you used?
Unprecedented unprofitability.
Gross.
Is what everybody, is what all the carriers are using. So, I mean, I tell my clients, I work for them, not the insurance company.
Right.
As a broker. So it's my job to kind of translate that and educate clients as much as possible. And that becomes tough, to explain, like, I haven't had any claims. I haven't, had any tickets, or why is my insurance going up so much? And then I kind of, use it as a learning or a teaching point, and hope they understand.
Yeah, it's got to be a tough sell, man. I feel for you. And so what seems to, and if you don't have the answer, it's okay, but does there seem to be, any kind of light at the tunnel, any kind of, advice that's kind of coming from maybe the higher ups in the insurance business that are saying, look, it might be this now, but here's what we're seeing in the future?
There's not quite any light yet. But, eventually there's going to have to be a reset. And, like along the coast, what the government has done with TWIA and flood insurance, there might have to be some sort of, government-backed insurance for hail. There's a bunch of different options, but until these insurance carriers catch up, like, for example, Germania, which is a great carrier, been in business 126 years. They've stopped, and hopefully all these, kind of like, the Fed increasing the interest rates, they're waiting for the economy, to slow down inflation.
Sure.
Similar issue with insurance carriers. They're doing as much as they can to stop the bleeding.
Right, by
now.
increasing deductibles, forcing people to pay out of pocket if they can,
cranking up rates. Well, not forcing them. That's just that's my advice, if they can afford it.
Well, if I have a $4,000 expense, I'm not going to spend $6,000 in my deductible to fix it. Right. So by increasing the deductible amount, you're forcing people to make lower dollar figure.
Skin in the game.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not going to replace my $4,000 garage door if it's a $6,000 deductible. Right. So no light at the end of the tunnel just yet, but we're getting there. We've got things in place that are going to eventually, as you said, create a reset and work this out. What other questions are you running into, or things that you're kind of getting from clients when they're reaching out, or Better yet, again, the whole idea behind what we're doing right now is designed to just allow people to kind of get questions answered without having to call an insurance agent.
Right.
You know, what's that like number one question you're seeing in this current market right now a lot, to just do that public service announcement to your current,
Right.
past, and present
Why
clients?
why are my rates, why are my renewals going up? I haven't had any
That's really the
claims.
only one?
That's the only one. On inspections,
Mhm.
inspections have become more stringent.
Okay,
That's part of this whole, you know, stop of the bleeding
sure.
that the insurance carriers are doing on their part. You know, they're being stricter on what they'll allow, stricter on underwriting guidelines. For example, nationwide in some counties, they're wanting either pictures or an inspection report before they even issue the policy.
Wow. So just getting more strict.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And so there's questions on as to that. But you know, especially for new home buyers, you know, I'll go down the list of what coverage A, B, C, D, E is, what deductibles mean, and you know, it kind of explain to them, you know, without getting too stuck in the insurance weeds of, you know, what's going on in the market.
Sure.
And what's causing everything to be like this. But as far as one question, it's mostly just why are my rates doing this?
Right.
I don't have any claims.
Why is my costs going up?
Right.
I
And
gotcha.
for some people, you know, it's they understand and some don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what are their options, right? I mean, they can,
Right.
especially if they're dealing with someone like yourself who's a broker.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have the ability to shop carriers.
Right.
And from what I understand, I mean, you can typically shop carriers whenever you want.
Right.
You know, there's nothing stopping you from doing that.
Right.
And
that's usually the biggest fix to what's going on right now. And what I'm telling clients, it's and referral partners, it's finding the, you know, silver bullet. Each carrier has their own appetite
Mhm.
as to what risk they want to take on.
Sure.
So it's finding the right fit. And so say rates go up with nationwide. You know, being a broker, I can talk to the client, quote, reshop them, which takes up most of my time right now is reshops just
Yeah,
because of all
I
the
bet.
rate increases. But, you know, and then I'll put them with somebody else with you know, Safeco or Travelers or, you know, Liberty Mutual, something like that.
Do you encourage clients to shop like crazy, or to bother you to shop like crazy? Or is it one of those things where it's, you know, you can only do it so much to where it's worthwhile?
Right. Well, so we have in our CRM, if premium jumps above 20%, we get an automatic notification to reshop that
Like
client.
pings you?
Yeah, and
Because you don't want to lose them.
right, and
Right.
it helps with our retention. So, you know, a month out, as soon as that renewal hits and it's outrageous, I'll go ahead and reshop it. Call the client, just be like, hey, you know, your insurance has gone up 60%.
Mhm.
Here's some options I can help you with. You know, this carrier came back and I'm able to, you know, save you X amount.
I got you.
Yeah.
And so for you personally, I always ask this question to everyone who's on here. You know, if you're an insurance agent, you're always looking for people that want to buy insurance.
Yeah.
And if you're a lender like myself, I'm always looking for somebody who wants a loan, and a real estate agent always wants somebody who wants to buy a home.
Mm-hmm.
But is there a particular type of client that you like to work with the most? You know, if you could, and again, everybody goes, "Oh, no, anybody." It's not designed to, like, you know, pigeonhole you into one client. But is there a particular type of client you feel like you have a better fit with, or that you just kind of connect better with?
Yeah. On the personal line side, I like new home buyers. I like educating. I like, you know, helping them through the process.
Okay. And this is new homes, as in new homes to them, or like first-time home buyers?
First-time home buyers.
Got it.
Or new homes to them. But,
Right.
you know, to answer your question,
Yeah.
first-time home buyers.
That's, for
you
me,
know,
that's my favorite client.
Yeah.
First-time home buyer.
and you get to help them through the process.
Yep.
There's, you know, I feel good afterwards, you know, that I've educated somebody about
Sure.
the insurance process, no matter how boring.
Well, the reason I personally like first-time home buyers is because one of the things that I run into on a semi-regular basis is that it's almost impossible for me to, well, maybe not impossible. It's very difficult for me to take somebody throughout the entire process of what we do and in fully extreme detail explain every single piece of what's going on in front and behind the scenes.
Same.
And so I try to educate as much as I possibly can. And I feel like first-time home buyers, they want that information. They want to know what's going on. They want to almost like be over-explained to.
Right.
And so I'm never nervous with a first-time home buyer that I'm like telling them something that they maybe have already heard or that, you know, they're like bored with or whatever. Whereas when I deal with somebody who may have purchased a home before, I definitely get stopped from time to time. And, you know, it's like, hey, buddy,
I
bought like 3 homes before. And then a couple days or even a week goes by and then something comes up in the process and they're like, how come no one told me anything?
Exactly.
And I'm thinking, well, that's because you already know more than me.
Right.
And it happens.
Right.
And so that's why, yeah, for me, first-time home buyers is I feel like I'm never going to like over-explain. And it just, I like it when people are asking a lot of questions because then.
And eager to learn.
Yeah. They're asking a lot of questions. That way I know that like, you know, there's not going to be any confusion throughout the process. So that for me, I agree with you. First-time home buyers, that's a great one for me also. Yeah. For that exact reason. You know, we kind of talked a little bit about the business in regards to pain points and all that kind of stuff. But one thing I always try to turn to, because I think it's good for everyone that is listening or watching, because we talk about new business and it is really interchangeable. We're all very much like self-employed business owners. What are you doing right now that you feel like is kind of helping you as far as new business is concerned, you know, outside of, you know, going after your current clients, asking for referrals? Is there anything that you're doing that seems to be working?
Yeah. So upping my networking.
There you go.
Know, spending as much time, you know, away from reshopping, you know, because that's the majority of my time is reshopping. So going out and getting new business, new networking opportunities, talking to people like you.
Yep.
You know, hey, do you know of any good networking events? And, you know, we connected through a great one.
Well, this will get you in front of over 5,000 people. So, you know, hopefully this can help make some connections or at least help make you locally famous because is the majority of the business that you do kind of here locally in the Austin area, or do you do
here in DFW?
Okay.
But really all over Texas, depending, you know, on the lender. So on the personal line side, I to get new business, it's networking, meeting with as many lenders and realtors as I can, and connecting the two when I can. On the commercial line side, it's commercial lenders and commercial realtors, because a lot of times, you know, as a new tenant, they'll need at least a general liability before they can get into a new lease for a space.
Are you being as affected as much on the commercial side as you are on the residential side? Or
Absolutely.
Okay. Is it because it's all kind of coming from the same pot, or do they treat it separately?
Yeah. Well, a lot of them are the same carriers.
Got it.
You know, and even the commercial only, you know, it's bigger risk. For example, you know, like I just got a client that called me about an HOA master policy that covers 87 units, so about almost 50 townhomes.
Wow. And
it's one single policy that covers the dwelling and roofs of each single townhome, 2 people per. I think there's a couple 4-unit townhomes, but their renewal, I feel like they're getting affected even more so than everybody else. So it went from like, I want to say 70,000 to 130,000. So $60,000 increase for this policy with the same carrier. So he showed me, look, these are the quotes I'm getting back. They're closer to 117,000. And so I guess when I get done doing this today, I'm going back. I've started making some calls, but it's my turn to start shopping it around, see where I can fit them. You know, if we need to split it up, you know, what the best option is for the client.
Right on.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, as far as the insurance side of everything, I mean, again, is there anything else we need to know about what you're doing? I know there's always the cliche question, there's a million loan officers out there, there's a million real estate agents, and there's a million insurance agents. So is there anything that I need to know, or better yet, the people out there need to know as to why working with you might be different than some of the, Joe from...
Yeah. So we're originally with Goosehead, and
Why is that important?
So because they take up a majority of the market, and
Okay.
they're kind of our biggest competitor.
I see.
And they're a great company, but we found some ways to improve on some things.
Okay.
Point being, a lot of these bigger bigger brokerages like Goosehead and Higginbotham, after they make the initial sale, you're pushed off to a service department.
Gotcha.
And what we've done is we're the single point of contact throughout our entire relationship. We do have a service team that can help back us up, but everything goes through me. Claims, I'm an advisor on claims. I'm an advisor on coverages, on adding things, taking things off, getting COIs, reshops especially.
And that's all obviously just a design to create a better experience for the client.
Absolutely. Better experience for the client. We're also not as limited to, we're not publicly traded, so we don't have, to get a certain amount of, we can sell anything monoline, which means I can sell a single home. I don't have to combo it with a house or with a
car.
Yeah. So there's more flexibility there. And yeah, I mean, that's a lot of things.
So it's mainly service.
Right.
I mean,
mainly
at the end of the
service
day.
And clients with DTI issues, we have the ability to waive fees.
DTI being debt to income ratio in the mortgage loan.
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, that's
so
something
if it's tight,
we run into that on a semi-regular basis also, especially with rising interest rates and all those kind of things. I mean, it's tough. I've been interviewing a lot of businesses, financial advisors, CPAs, insurance agents. We had, like a recruiter, right? There's a sexier name for it. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but yeah, like job recruiting. It's just, it's been interesting hearing that it's not something that is, it is just one business. Because when interest rates kind of started to increase, which people are surprised to hear this number, we are about 20 months right now from when we saw an initial, like, pretty big jump in rates.
Right.
And when I say that, people go, wow, that's crazy. It doesn't seem like it's been that long. Well, it has. It's been 20 months. And we're typically, when I say we, I mean lenders are usually the first to see it. And it's always kind of tough because we see it coming, and then you want to be positive and hope that it's not going to stay. And then you also don't want to kind of try to warn people, because at the exact moment, everyone's going like, what are you talking about? We're good to go. Like, we're crushing it. We're having a great year. And then when it kind of turns, it's validating because you're like, see, I kind of knew it was going to happen. But at the same time, you're like, I didn't want it to. But it has. It's been really, really interesting sitting down with every single business. And I haven't really found too many people that aren't like, yeah, I'm feeling it.
Right.
Whether it's, we just talked about how you're feeling it with insurance. Real estate agents are feeling it because interest rates are high. Lenders are feeling it because interest rates are high. Recruiters, we're seeing less people that are hiring. I mean, it's in the air, and it is interesting. And that's why I wanted to put this all together, because it is a good time to get, I'm glad to hear that you said that you want to do the networking stuff, or that you have been doing more of the networking stuff, because the one thing I've identified about networking is, yes, it's a great place to get business, but the thing I think that people miss a lot is that it's the best place to get high quality business. Right. Like, we all can go and like buy leads. Every business we can buy leads. We can do search engine marketing, search engine optimization type stuff. And I'm not saying that those things don't work. They do. However, they're never going to produce the quality that you're going to be able to receive when you're getting a lead from somebody that is maybe referring you, or even
that'll put their name, on the line for it. That's 100% how we do our business. We've tried during the pandemic. We tried with buying leads, but that it it's too much of a waste of time.
Do you guys do anything like
direct referrals?
I've been trying to put a few things together, and I've public service announcement. We're getting close to the end of the year,
Right.
right? And I wish I had more money to give away in terms of charity and stuff, but
Right.
we always do charities, and there's a few that I have kind of on the books, if you will, that we're going to probably end up doing. But I'm really interested in meeting with some charities that want to get on and want to, have a conversation, talk a little bit about their charity, and talk about how businesses might be able to get involved.
Right.
Are there any things that you have done? And let's face it, like, we do these charities for things that we want to donate to, but they're also designed to showcase our businesses. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like, I'm just coming out and admitting it.
Yeah.
So is there anything that you have done with your business? And again, it's okay if you haven't.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get some charities on here that want to interview, and we can figure out what. But like, have you ever done anything to showcase your business through any kind of charity organizations, or just even educational events, like outside of leads and networking?
Right. So there's a couple. So I'm in a B&I group, and there's Burke Center for Youth. Good guy, knows Steve Fournier. Has an awesome place where he helps troubled youths, teenage boys, in the foster care system, and has awesome center out there, gardening, horseback riding, and then there's also a corporate gifting that has it's a company called Because Minded. Jessica Shields. It's corporate gifting opportunities, and that's a better way, because each of the it's like a handmade tea cloth, awesome like soy candle, and they're really high quality handmade stuff that's boxed for corporate gifting. So it's a great thing. I've sent it to my referral partners.
And from what I understand, the majority of the stuff that's made is made by
at risk,
right?
At risk moms or refugees. There's a myriad of causes that each of those things goes towards.
Sure.
That helps.
Yeah, one of the ones we're talking about doing this year is Austin Smiles.
Okay.
This is an organization that helps raise money for children that are born with kind of like a cleft lip, cleft palate.
Yeah.
And the information was sent to me by someone that I work with on a regular basis, and so we're looking into doing some stuff for that. And then I actually have a meeting on Thursday to sit down with an organization that does stuff for rescuing pit bulls.
Oh, wow.
So those are the two that are on the table now, but I really do want to get in front of a couple of other organizations. Even if my company doesn't end up donating, I would love to showcase them and talk a little bit about how we can maybe help raise funds with other businesses and stuff like that. So something that I have been thinking about that I've been meaning to, I'm probably going to do like a whole public service announcement on my own without having someone else in here to really do a call to action to get people on here. Because again, this is the time of the year when people can, they're more interested in donating for the write-offs and stuff like that.
Right.
So outside of insurance, man, the one-to-one, any questions you have for a lender? If you don't, it's okay. I do 5 of these a week, so we've got plenty of information. But I'm happy to answer anything I can.
Yeah, so I know you guys are swarmed because a lot of our business on the insurance side starts with the realtor.
Yep.
And then the mortgage lender, and then one of the last pieces of the puzzle is insurance.
Yep.
And so insurance kind of can be overwhelming, especially in the networking worlds towards mortgage lenders.
Sure.
So what do you find in a good insurance agent?
It's simple. There's only 2 things I really look for in an insurance agent. Number one is I just need them responsive and doing all of the things that they say they're going to do, because one thing that I don't think a lot of people know, real estate agents and buyers don't understand, like an insurance company can really jam us up.
Yeah.
for
Oh, yeah.
closing.
Delay
Some of
closing.
these online insurance companies where,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
we have any request that is made has to be done online. It requires a 24 to 48-hour turnaround time.
Yeah, with
And
binder changes and things like
right,
that.
right.
Yeah.
And those binder changes aren't as similar. People don't take things as serious as I feel like they should until something wrong happens. Because,
Right.
like, if your name isn't right on your policy, or if the
Oh,
address isn't
exactly
right
the
on your
same.
policy,
Yeah.
right, like, you're going to run into a problem. And
Mhm.
when you do, you're going to look back and be like, well, why wasn't it done correctly? And it's like,
Mhm.
well, we asked for the change, but it didn't come through, so we just
Yeah.
closed the loan anyway. Like, that's not going to happen,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So that's the very first thing for me, is having an insurance company that's responsive and is going to work with us to make sure that we're closing the loan on time.
Yeah.
I mean, that's priority number one.
Mhm.
And then priority number two, and again, it's only two things, is I look to work with insurance agencies that are actively looking for new business, right? So real estate agents are great referral partners for me.
Right.
Right now, I'm like a vampire to a real estate agent. They want
Yeah.
nothing to do with me. They have no desire to meet with me. They are getting completely inundated with every single lender in the
Right.
country. And so going back to what we talked about on getting referrals,
Mhm.
one of the best ways for me to get a referral is to be referred by someone else that individual knows.
Right.
So insurance agencies that are really, really good at, whether it's getting involved, like I said, with charities, doing
Mhm.
events, doing all the things, or just flat out making warm introductions to myself with other real estate agents,
Oh, yeah.
that's huge.
Yeah.
That's all I need. I mean, because it goes so much further than you would think. I don't even cold call agents, mainly because I just know better,
Right.
right?
Right. Same.
So the majority of what I do is I connect with them through insurance companies. I connect with them through, just other business professionals. And then I
Yeah.
do things like this where we try to provide value because
Mhm.
for me personally, real estate agents are almost like my salespeople
Right. Yeah.
because buying a home, the joke I always use is like getting in contact with the lender is kind of like going to the dentist.
Yeah.
It's good for you. You have to do it. Like
Mhm.
your dental health is extremely important.
Mhm.
And therefore you go to the dentist, but like it's never anything that anybody's usually excited to do.
Right.
However,
Similar to insurance.
right, pretty much. And so, looking at homes and envisioning like, raising a family and having Christmas and looking
Mhm.
at countertops and all of the things that come along with like viewing homes, that's fun, that's sexy, right?
Mhm.
And so I find that it is a lot easier to get referred to clients through a real estate agent because they're
Absolutely.
kind of on those front lines. So back to your original question, those are the only two things that honestly matter to me when I talk about
Yeah.
what's important to me as an insurance agent, because my clients are going to shop cost,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but within reason, I mean, your industry is regulated. You're not
Mhm.
going to find one business that's going to be like 10 times more expensive than another one.
Right.
So at the end of the day, even if the company that I'm referring is a little more expensive, it's nothing that's going to break the bank.
Yeah.
And if I know that they're going to do a good job, provide good service, and do a good job on the back end, like you said, when there comes time to
Right.
shop, or when when there comes and becomes an issue,
Yeah.
that to me is important.
Yeah.
Because I will say that I have had instances where people have used these like online insurance companies,
Right.
and then there's a problem
Same
and
with
there's no
us.
one for them to connect with. They don't. No
Right.
one's
It's a
calling them back.
chatbot.
Right. No one's calling them back. The check for the repair is being mailed to the
Mhm.
wrong place with the wrong endorsement on it.
We've had
And
that.
they're calling me like, well, what do I do? And I'm like,
Mhm.
well, what you should have done was use the company that I suggested.
Yeah.
That would have been, the first thing that I would have done. But now that we're here, like, go back and talk to your online lender. Like, what can I say?
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah, that as a lender, that's what's most important to me.
Yeah. And I kind of want to use it. That was another, change we kind of made from the Goosehead model of things, was getting out binder changes. I can have a binder change, or, say a closing cost or closing gets moved back, or, there's an error, which sometimes happens.
Sure.
I can have a binder change in 15 minutes just through the system we've set up. Whereas if you're direct to carrier, sometimes it'll take 24 hours.
Yeah.
Or if you're
I've seen it.
working with a, brokerage that doesn't handle like that, where the agents don't handle the servicing side. There's a lag, and they get backed up. Especially.
There's some companies that I've dealt with that won't even bind policies until after closing.
Oh wow.
No, it's nutty, and then they send over, well, here's what the Texas state law says, and that we can close on just a what's the document that you get before it's bound?
A binder.
Well, yeah, you've got
insurance binder.
Yeah, you've got an insurance binder, but then after there's like an actual like, so
There's an oral binder you can give.
I think that's what. Yeah, it's crazy. I've worked with some like country, insurance companies, and they're like, because from what I've talked to other insurance agents about, the reason why they don't want to fully bind the policy before closing is because then if there's any change or anything like that, like, I don't know if it affects like your commission or
right. We don't ever write like that because there could be a jump in premium.
Sure.
Especially.
Or if the client changes what they want.
Exactly, yeah.
So, like, they're like, well, we don't want to fully bind it until it's closed and we know exactly what,
Yeah, that's odd. We usually do it at least 2 weeks out from closing.
I know. I know. I'm just thinking about, you're bringing back all these nightmares.
Yeah. It's just bad business policy.
Yeah. Well, believe it or not, man, we've been chatting now for like 50 minutes. Isn't that crazy?
Wow. Yeah. First podcast.
That's good. What do you think?
Flash. No, this is awesome.
It does.
Yeah.
And so what we're going to end up doing, and we've got Flash Media Marketing. I'm sure you've met Michael. He's also part of the networking group. We'll get him. He's going to do all the edits on everything and put together some sexy videos and get your name out there.
Awesome.
But
I appreciate that.
Yeah, totally. Is there anything else you want to cover or anything you want, again, this is our one-to-one for those that don't know. I mean, this is just us meeting for the first time, having a basic conversation about what we do.
Right. Walked into a whole podcast room.
I've been, it's funny because I've just been kind of tricking people lately because there have been a few people and you know what? Here, this will be good footage.
Yeah.
So those of you that are out there, because I'm going to make sure this video makes it out, you know who you are. You've already like rescheduled with me like 3 or 4 times. There is not a person on this planet that is that busy.
Right.
Okay? They're just not. And I think what it is that a lot of what we talk about in this podcast actually comes about vulnerability. Right? Because a lot of people, I find that there's 3 types of guests. I have guests that come on that are just like totally extroverted. They sit down, they have a good conversation. You seem pretty chill. We've just been kind of rolling. Yeah. You've got other guests that you can tell are a little bit nervous.
Right.
And, they're like, but it makes for good footage because like there's nothing scripted here.
Right.
Like you can't fuck this up.
Right.
And then I've got the third guest who just seems to be super self-conscious and is very fidgety. Yeah. And so what I started to identify was like, I would get in front of people on a regular one-to-one that maybe wasn't on camera or even have a conversation. Or sometimes the people would come to me and be like, dude, I really want to get on. You're putting together such good footage. I need to get my social media going.
Yeah.
It'd be great to be on there. And I'm like, yeah, sure. They schedule an appointment with me. You remember scheduling.
Yeah.
I do everything through
Calendly.
I do everything through Calendly. So like, I don't pick the time. You do.
Right.
And I've got guests that just continue to reschedule, and I know it has to be because
they're
like,
be on camera.
Oh, I don't know if I'm ready yet. I don't know if I'm prepared or whatever, because we're not talking about like something that you don't know about. Like you should know about insurance.
Right.
You should know about your job. Like there shouldn't be, and all I'm doing is asking questions that are really just like softball questions that I think somebody who doesn't know much about insurance may ask.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
I'm not asking you to like calculate like replacement cost for me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that's not something that and maybe I'm wrong. If you want to know how to, calculate replacement cost, call Rutledge. He can probably explain to you.
Yes.
But it's not something that I think is going to make for good content on a broad stroke.
No.
So, yeah, the reason why I've kind of blindsided you with this is that I've learned it's just a lot better. People come off of the show. They're like, dude, that was cool.
Yeah.
Like we accomplished what we set out to do, which was sit down, have a 1 hour meeting, talk a little bit about your business, talk a little bit about mine.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love the concept.
And we're going to be able to put some stuff out.
Yeah.
So yeah, for those of you that are, constantly rescheduling, or better yet, are concerned, or even further, maybe I'll cut this part out. Like, I'm gonna blindside all of you. Like if you think you're
There
coming,
you
you know,
go.
like it's
like
getting
it.
recorded.
Yeah. No, I like it. Love the concept and
Cool.
exposure it brings. It's a great idea right now. Like if you're not utilizing social media, especially in this market, this is an awesome way to do it.
Yeah, well, and
So kudos.
yeah, the stuff that's coming out of here, I mean, you'll see, man.
Yeah.
It's not like we're holding a selfie stick or anything like that. So,
Right.
well,
Right.
I always finish up the same way just so
Mhm.
that, my whole thing is getting in front of your audience, right? So
Yeah.
make sure you find me on Facebook and all that kind of stuff
Awesome.
because we'll put
Will
you as a
do.
collaborator. But I finish everything up to have you just kind of stare in the camera there and introduce
Yeah.
yourself one last time and let us know who you are, what you do, and why we should start sending you our business.
Yeah, Rutledge Pate with Converse Insurance. We're independent, meaning we can shop. We've gone over that, which is extremely important right now. And I'd love to help your clients and possibly you save money in this tumultuous insurance times.
There
Or
it is.
These tumultuous?
Tumultuous, yes.
Tumultuous.
What was the term again? The
Unprecedented unprofitability is what they're saying. So
gross.
there's ways around it, and it is gross. Yes.
Well, I'm sure we'll make it through.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, man. Appreciate having you on.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
And we'll cut this one, and we got to have you back on, man. I tell
Yeah.
everybody this is something that I encourage everybody to do at least every 90 days because
Yeah.
the business is changing. There's
Yeah.
other topics that we'll be able to talk about.
Right.
Hopefully, no more hailstorms out in Round Rock to
Right.
Right.
We
increase
had that last
increase
night.
premiums. But
Yeah.
we'll,
So
we'll have to get you
but
back in, man.
Yeah, maybe then I could tell you there's some light at the end of the tunnel.
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
All right, man. Thanks again.
All right. Thanks.